Today, the first topic I will explain to everyone is table short touch technique. Before we talk about the short touch, first of all is a refined technique extended from the forehand push. So the first topic I'll explain to you is how to build a correct framework for the forehand push. Okay, let's first talk about how to frame it. Well, first, we must frame the legs. Second, we must frame the hands. So how do we frame the legs? First, for the legs, we mainly need to learn how to find the position, including which foot to step in with. Because for short balls, we can't just reach out to receive them. We need our footwork to step in. But this is forehand short. This is forehand short. Here, these are all forehand short. So how should our footwork step in? Friends, everyone must pay attention to the footwork. We only need to achieve one thing. Step in with the foot on the same side as your playing hand. Secondly, when we step in, we must base it on the ball's left-right and front-back position. That is, the ball's coordinates on the table. You must step your foot accurately to this position. If the step is inaccurate, everyone look at what the consequences will be. For example, if the opponent serves here, casually step forward, everyone look. See that? This situation will occur. Why? My foot is applying force towards this direction. But the ball is over there and I'm reaching out. Then my motion will be deformed. As long as I push with a deformed motion, no matter how well you practice normally, you absolutely won't be able to utilize it in a match. This is the first footwork point. Then the second footwork point. Besides accurately finding the position, what is the most crucial part? The most crucial part is that our center of gravity must move in. Come, I'll do a demonstration for you all now. My foot stepped in. I found the correct and my hand went in too. Everyone can take a look. What is the problem here? Come everyone, look. I stepped my foot very deep inside and my hand went in. The position is also correct. Why does this ball still feel like there's a problem? Please, this means that when my foot went in, I didn't bring my center of gravity into the table. Everyone, look, what is a correct step in? Come. Did you all see that? I am now. Look, didn't my center of gravity come in now? Did you see, friends? Come, I'll do another one. Hey, this short touch, if I touch it like this, does it feel like it's easier to control? Why is it easier to control? Everyone, look, the legs. When we step in, stepping this foot in, you must, incidentally, bring your center of gravity onto your front right leg. And everyone needs to pay attention to your upper body. This is also the core of the body framework in pushing. I'll guide you to observe it. When you step your foot in, because the table is blocking us here, actually, the distance our foot can step in is somewhat limited. We can't just step our foot all the way over here. The ball is so short. It's completely impossible to step your foot there. So how can we control this ball? Well, everyone must pay attention to your upper body. You absolutely must be able to lean in. Only when your upper body leans in. Everyone, look, can you ensure that my hand is close to my body? This is equivalent to when I am pushing. I am using my body's center of gravity, my forearm, which is my arm, together to control this ball. You see, the body and hand are both close to the ball. This way, it's easy for me to control. Everyone look. 1, 2, Did you see 3. That? If my upper body doesn't come in, the body and hand are far apart. Even if your racket and the ball are close, the final consequence is still that your control completely relies on your hand to control. Let's look now. Get closer to the ball. The upper body needs to get closer to the ball. This way, you feel that your push uses the body and hand together to push the ball out. This is the body framework. Now let's talk about the push. What is the framework for the hand? The hand framework for the forehand push. First, where should everyone mainly look at your racket, the direction of your racket tip. The incorrect motions many friends make are all the same. Everyone take a look. This is the incorrect push of many friends. Did you see that? He pushes like this. Then if this push isn't executed well, what will happen? It will pop up high. The ball will pop up. Why does it Everyone pop up high? Look, when pushing with your forehand, you must learn to point the position of your racket tip towards the front and downwards. Towards the front and downwards. That is to say, when you are pushing, you prioritize letting the position of your racket tip, the very top of your racket, contact the ball, rather than keeping your wrist open and using the left side of your racket. It's not pushing with this part, but using the racket tip position to push. Why must you use the racket tip position to push? Everyone, look, rackets are basically all short horizontally and long vertically, right? Not just the rubber. The entire blade is horizontally short and vertically long, right? So vertically long, meaning our top part being in the front, can better allow this racket to find the ball earlier, and with this racket being vertically long, it allows the ball to stay on the racket for a brushing time and distance that will be longer. This way, its stability, as well as the margin of error of the push, will be higher. Furthermore, with the racket tip pointing down, look, then when I am pushing, I can effectively avoid what problem? Avoid scooping upwards. Come, everyone look. Did you notice? As long as my racket is horizontal like this, when I apply force, I am a bit out of control. I like to scoop upwards. Why do I like to scoop upwards? My racket has nothing blocking it, look. See? Nothing is blocking it in front. But as long as my racket tip is here, then when I am pushing, will I still want to scoop upwards? No, I can then. Hey. Naturally, go downwards just a bit. Isn't that very simple? Isn't it very easy to push this way? Absolutely do not push horizontally. You must do it vertically with the racket tip pointing down. This is the body and hand framework. For pushing, the foot finds the position. The upper body lowers the center of gravity. Use the body and hand together to control this push. Next is the hand control. You must make the racket tip point downwards as much as possible. Don't tilt it upwards or open it to the side. You must try to learn to use the racket tip position to contact and brush the ball, whether it's a short touch or a long push. Then many friends ask, why exactly won't you let me do it horizontally? Everyone, do you notice? What happens if you push horizontally? You like to whip your wrist. When you open your racket horizontally for a push, you like to whip your wrist. If I simply point the racket tip down, is there any room left for my wrist to whip? No, I've already reached the limit, right? If so, then my push can better utilize the wrist. Better utilize a gripping motion on the racket. That's enough. What does the rest of the power rely on? The rest of the power relies on our elbow joint and forearm to control it. It can prevent this unstable factor from existing during your push. This is caused by whipping the wrist. If you angle your wrist down in advance, then even if you want to whip your wrist, you can't. Look, your control will be much more stable. See that, friends? So everyone must pay attention to these two framework points in short touches. After having a good framework, what corresponding adjustments should we make when applying the short touch and the long push? Okay, let's first talk about this short touch. Everyone, look, if we want to do a short touch, many friends, the most common response they give me is, what? It's hard for me to control. They feel their power is very hard to control. This ball, even if their power is very light, where does this problem lie? The problem lies in you always trying to use your own power to control this ball. It will be very hard for you to control. But everyone, well, do you feel like when I control it's very effortless? Why? I am not actively trying to control this ball when I'm doing a short touch. I'm looking more for a feeling of borrowing force. I'm looking mostly for a feeling of borrowing force. I'm borrowing the incoming ball from the opponent. After it bounces on the table, the bounce point, which is the power of the early rising phase, then my hand is perfectly placed there, borrowing the ball's rising power. I just place my racket there, just set it there, perfectly borrowing the force. I'll do it. It borrows the force and goes over. I don't need to apply any effort at all. I just place the racket there. I don't need to apply extra power. Just borrowing the ball's rising power, look. So everyone must know, if you want to master this short touch, you must first learn to borrow force. Instead of first learning to actively apply your own force, our short touch is mostly used in the service return phase. From preparation to stepping in to touch this ball, drop this ball. So for many friends, where does their problem occur? When stepping in, they have what kind of awareness? A backswing. They always want to store power. Let me show everyone. They always want to pull their hand back like this to store power. Doing this, you will never be able to control this ball. Come everyone, look at what my hand is doing when I step in. Did you all see that? My hand is actually just following my right leg, following my center of gravity. Just placing it in. Did you all see that? I'll do an empty demonstration for everyone again. Look, step in. Everyone, look, my hand goes from preparing in front of my body, bringing it inside the table, Instead of my hand first going through an opening backswing to store power and then going up to push the ball, this is exactly what you need to pay special attention to during the short touch process when you step in. Because for a short touch, you don't need to actively apply force. You are just borrowing force. Since you don't need active force, that implies when I step in, when I contact this ball, I don't need to store power, so I don't need a backswing. Therefore, you must just bring this hand directly in. And why absolutely must it be directly brought in? Because, as we just said, when we do a short touch, if you want to borrow force, you definitely must catch the ball's rising phase. Okay. If we pull our hand back when stepping in, and then come forward, everyone look, pulling your hand back and then bringing it forward. Doesn't that take time? By the time you finish the entire backswing and forward motion, the time wasted just happens to make you miss this ball's optimal rising phase and bounce point. By the time you contact everyone, look, it has basically reached a falling phase. When you are in the falling phase, it's very hard for you to do a short touch. Because you can't borrow the ball's power anymore. It turns into your own active control again, which is a vicious cycle. So bring your hand in. Rising phase, look, it perfectly drops it short. 1, 2, tap. See that? Bring the racket in, look, placed on the rising phase. Placed on the rising phase. Let me use the penhold grip. Come everyone look, I'll use penhold placed on the rising phase. See that? Rising phase. Placed. One more. Rising phase placed. See that? Look, the balls I drop basically 10 bounces. How many times? Okay, off the table. Now let's talk about the long push and the short touch are completely opposite. Opposite in what way? Opposite in that the short touch borrows while the long push uses active force. Between these two, the changes we most need to make are in two aspects. The first is the change in the hitting point. You need to find the correct hitting point. The second is the change in power generation. At the moment we contact the ball, in the way power is applied. Let's talk about the hitting point first. Everyone can take a look at the hitting point. Since it's active power generation, our point cannot be too early, including many friends. When doing a long push, why do they constantly hit it out of bounds or into the net? Because the point is too early. See that, friends? If I rush to catch the short touch, timing to do a long push. Actually, you see, my consistency is very low. It's very hard to push long. Therefore, when applying active force for a long push, learn a word, what is it? Regarding rhythm, it's called a sense of pause. That is, after the ball hits the table, you need to have a deliberate pause. Deliberately wait for the ball before you execute. Let me demonstrate for everyone. 3. Did everyone notice that? I waited a moment before executing. Wait a moment, then execute. Wait, execute. This way, you see, you basically won't miss the ball. I will then use penhold to demonstrate. Look, wait, execute. See that? Wait a moment, execute. Wait a moment, execute. Now I'll do 2 more short touches for everyone. Everyone watch the rhythm change. The short touch is like this. Rising phase, just place long push. Wait a moment, then execute. Look, do you see this rhythm? Isn't it true that you must first learn to have a pause for this hitting point? You can't use the same hitting point for a short touch. You'll mess it up, including because the long push is actually used a lot in amateur matches, as well as in professional matches. It's also used heavily. It's also the most practical and effective. So if you want to push long with a high success rate, you have to find the correct point first. Once you find the correct point, as your proficiency increases, the overall motion of your improves in all aspects. Only then will your quality be high. If your timing is wrong and you rush the point, always trying to rush the point these days, your consistency will be very low. Therefore, to practice the long push, start by finding the power generation, okay? This is a technique. And regarding this long push, what else should we pay attention to? The issue of power direction we just talked about. Power, direction, including the feeling of this power generation. Everyone can take a look. For a short touch at the moment of contact, what are we looking for? A slight racket gripping sensation. Everyone, look. It is just a look. Right? Did everyone see? Did you see my wrist move slightly? It's a feeling of slightly gripping the racket. You don't need to deliberately whip the wrist, just a slight turn of the racket is enough. Push, friends, the power generation point doesn't lie in how much power my wrist gives the ball, or how much spin it generates. The long push lies in how I can produce the length of this ball. Give it a long push, so if your length is long enough, it requires that during your pushing process, your forearm and upper arm power needs to be provided more. Therefore, everyone look, what does the long push rely on? Driving the upper arm forward. and downward with a sensation of everyone try to find the sensation of sending it long. Find the sensation of the forearm pulling the upper arm. Push it down. First send this ball down. Many friends, how do you apply power? You whip it long.